dust away. A friend indeed with no selfish greed can cause a time delay. So till there should be on the stars. Lord Krishna, Prabhupada, you're the captain of the boat, giving us direction how to stay afloat. Prabhupada, you're the master of the ship, guiding us and making sure we never slip. Prabhupada, you're the master of the mind, coming to deliver Vedic wisdom for all of mankind.
I read an article about the intentions of the Bangalore temple management to build a skyscraper and a theme park in Vrindavan, the Holy Land, the Holy Dham. And I've seen the artist's rendition of this spiraling, tall, reaching architectural wonder of a skyscraper. I read the quotation where they said, Prabhupada said that you could build a skyscraper. And I can't help but say, shame on you. The Bangalore management deserves a right kick up the backside. It is ridiculous that they tried to use Prabhupada's concessionary comment about building a skyscraper for Krishna. Just like Prabhupada says, we don't do hospitals, and yet there's a Bhaktivedanta hospital somewhere. What is that? Similarly, he said, you can build a skyscraper, it's a waste of time. But if you build a skyscraper for Krishna, it's not a waste of time. Obviously. If you do anything for Krishna, it's not a waste of time, and you do it for yourself, it is. So they've misused the quote to justify the concept that Prabhupada said, it's okay that you can build a skyscraper. But in actuality, all it is trying to engage the materialist in something that's beneficial for him in devotional service, and use his money or his energies or resources to build something for Krishna is far better than him to use it to cause himself to take another birth. So while it is an inferior level of devotional service, and it's very much the neophyte or engaging someone who's not a devotee in Krishna consciousness, it's not what should be done. I think that it shows a complete lack of realization that they think that you can build a skyscraper in the holy village. Vrindavan, Gokul, Govardhan Hill, the whole area is known as the village of cowherd people. It's not a town. It's not Dwarka. It should not have palaces. It should not have giant skyscraper 5-star hotels. What is wrong with you? It's an insult to the Lord, to the inhabitants of Vrindavan. I mean, they've been insulted and walked on. I understand there's a McDonald's, and some of these fast food chains have wiggled their way into that part of the country because they're trying to. Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, they were instructed directly by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Brahma was directly instructed by the Lord within the heart. So we understand that this knowledge is here since the beginning of the creation. It is being sustained and protected by the line of acharyas in the Sampradaya, and that they all take the concept of let me not adulterate it, let me pass it on and delineate this information purely as possible. So the knowledge that is coming to you and I as disciples of the spiritual master, and we in turn try to give to the innocent. is all transcendental knowledge that is not for us to claim. I cannot say this is my knowledge. I can say that it's my spiritual master's knowledge, and my spiritual master will make it clear how he got it, and this is disciplic succession. Now, the difference between Srila Prabhupada and you and I is Srila Prabhupada realized the knowledge, I remember it, and I delineate it, again, without adulteration as best as possible. I'm sure you do too. But we don't claim it. And I think this is pretty much a standard perspective within all of the disciples of the spiritual master, that they are not claiming that Vedic knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam is their knowledge. So that means that the proper ownership is up the disciplic chain. It's not mine, it's not yours, and generally speaking, no one claims that knowledge. So that's one thread. Now, the other thread is Srila Prabhupada criticizes the impersonalists who are saying that the material energy in all its diverse forms constitutes the Lord. And he's saying, no, that our energies are coming from the Lord, but it does not reduce his potency. He still is the complete whole, as we learn from the first verses of the Sri Upanishad. And we understand that Krishna has the capacity to manifest his multiple energies at multiple capacities in multiple forms simultaneously, and still be aloof from them and not diminished in any way. And so from the Vaishnava point of view, we see energy emanating from the energetic, but we don't take it that the energetic is diminished because of the expenditure of the energy. So the energy that emanates from the Lord has its own potencies. We know material nature, material energy has independent potencies, well, at least independent from us, but is empowered, should I say, to act. Many of the demigods are empowered and have the independent capacity, minute, like you and I, minute independence, and that's a standard characteristic for the living entities who are either empowered as demigods for administrative services, who are Vaishnavas for preaching services, even partial expansions, plenary portions, etc. in the spiritual world. They're all deputed with the appropriate energies for the appropriate tasks. And we see how Srila Prabhupada was empowered specifically for the task of translating Srimad Bhagavatam, delivering the Western countries with Vedic knowledge, liberating the entire planet through the Sankirtan movement. And he empowered others among us. No one can deny the empowerment of, for example, Vishujana Swami, the empowered of, for example, of Jayananda Prabhu, Yamuna Devi. There are many, many others, but you can see the similarity. The empowerment is carried on to achieve the respective goal, and that empowerment originates at the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should keep that in mind. So that is the second thread. Now, let's put these two together, and let's take a look at some conclusions we can draw, some perspectives we can get. Now, if you and I go out and we preach, and we are, let's say, empowered to do so, from the one side by the energetic, our spiritual master, who is empowered to deliver the Western countries. He has deputed you and I to be able to distribute his books and to explain them without adulteration, such that someone may become interested. Again, we've been empowered to instruct and guide the new person, to inform them, answer their questions, what is the standard, how to qualify for initiation, the do's and don'ts. And we can help bring someone to the platform of being qualified for initiation. Now, the way we're doing it is the other thread, where we are handing out the Vedic knowledge without adulteration, and that we are trying to delineate it clearly and honestly, and the supersoul within this new person hears and is awakened and is stimulated and encourages the living entity to accept this knowledge and to rise above their material predicament. And again, that same supersoul, the empowerment from within, our spiritual master, is guiding us and helping us to be successful in explaining it correctly, such that this sincere person standing in front of us gets honest answers, gets clear direction, fulfillment of their quest to understand things in proper perspective. I don't, you don't, claim the knowledge. We can see by our transcendental vision given by our spiritual master that he is working through us. He is working within them. By us just being honest and sincere, we can connect the information we have from the spiritual master to the sincere person, is accepted by the super soul within. That person becomes enlivened, they again inquire, they receive more information from us, they approach the spiritual master. The cycle of growth of a Vaishnav out of a materially absorbed person takes place. And during this transition, I don't claim to be the owner of the knowledge. I don't claim to be the doer of the work. I am the messenger, I am the vehicle, the vessel, spokesman on behalf of whose knowledge it actually is and who is actually trying to liberate this person. So when that person comes up to the platform that they are actually qualified for initiation, why would I accept them as mine? How can I ever think that this new person becomes my disciple? I don't have anything to give them. I'm not on the Super Soul platform. I can't offer them liberation, guarantee go back to Godhead. I'm not in their heart. I can't judge whether they're actually sincere or pretending to be sincere. I don't have the potency to deliver myself, let alone deliver them. I'm simply a messenger. So why would I say that I can accept you, you can become my disciple? Something is intellectually faulty in this. Now, I do have the right to say that my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he has realized this knowledge. He is on the Super Soul platform. He is initiating disciples. He can guarantee you to go back home, back to Godhead. He is qualified. I'm simply delivering his message to you. Please approach him. He's qualified. That I can do. So unless I was told specifically by Srila Prabhupada, you go initiate and become a spiritual master and accept disciples, there's no basis or qualification exhibited by me or any other Srila Prabhupada's disciples that we're qualified to take that task up. And Srila Prabhupada did not appoint anyone to do that. Now, he has said you can do that when you're mature, when I'm gone, you can go initiate disciples. And this is true because the living entity has independence, and he's not going to stop you from doing that. You can do that, but he says it's best not to accept any disciples. So we can see that that's not his intention nor wishes, and he did not empower anyone to do that. He will allow you to, but that's not his instruction. His instruction is it's better not to accept any disciples. And we can see that people who have misunderstood or misconstrued this concept, they want to accept and have accepted disciples, and it blows their mind. And they lose focus, they fall down, they go against the spiritual master, they oppose the spiritual master, they pervert his teachings, they alter his books, they gradually, progressively, and assuredly go insane. And then they act so averse, they're like acting like demonic. Because there's only two consciousnesses, divine and demonic. And if you screw up the divine consciousness, the selfless devotional service for the satisfaction of the spiritual master without expectation of return, if you screw that up and put I want in there, I, me, mine, you go insane. So this is a basic transfer of energy, false claim of authority result. Now, if we stay on the platform of humility and we accept the difference between one who realizes knowledge and one who remembers knowledge, and we are honest about he who is on the Super Soul platform and he who is not, And we accept that our line of disciplic succession has specifically empowered personalities for specific purposes within the wishes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in our case, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if we stay within the confines of that perspective of spiritual life, we don't go insane. And the person that we're standing there giving this book to and instructing and inviting to our center or home or whatever it may be and instructing them on Prabhupada's instructions, we introduce them to his books, train them, teach them, encourage them to read them, see the meanings, the multiple levels of meanings, become aware of the different levels of devotional consciousness, the different levels of devotional service, and gradually lift themselves up to a stable platform. We understand that the first level, the neophyte level, it's not really stable, and we get to the super soul platform or above, it is stable. So what is happening is everyone is in denial of the super soul aspect. Many of these disciples who are confused about are they or are they not a spiritual master and should they take on Diksha initiations, they aren't looking at whether or not they are actually on the super soul platform and can be of assistance in the heart of the disciple at all times, anywhere, whatever circumstances. So they go insane. And we have that now in the movement where we can't get justice, we can't get rectification, we can't get clearing of posts that are significant for the sustenance of the movement, because these people are attached to the illusion that they belong there and have gone insane due to opposition of the spiritual master's wishes and instructions, and so we can't get them to leave. Prabhupada talks about the politicians, that they are so greedy for self-aggrandizement that they'll die in office. They won't ever retire. And we kind of have that right now in anybody who has a position within our movement. They have the same concept. You can see now that the methodology that is sustainable is the humble methodology, respectful to the spiritual master's unique empowerment and his firmly fixed perspective on at least the super soul platform and his specially empowered potency for liberating the fallen souls of the age. That is the safe platform in spiritual growth, spiritual life, and the expansion of the movement, irrespective of time, place, and circumstance. It will always work. As opposed to the selfishness and misconception of one's advancement when the advancement is not there. So this is the two threads brought together. The super soul platform realization and the knowledge is coming down through that from higher authority. It's not ours. We can't claim it, so we shouldn't claim someone who becomes a disciple because of it. And similarly, the energies of the Lord and the energies of the spiritual master are not diluted because he is exhibiting them and spread them far and wide. Srila Prabhupada has got deities all over everywhere, and he's instructing temple after temple, group after group, center after center, household after household, all over the planet simultaneously. You can't do that unless you're on the highest platforms of self-realization and spiritual life. And we must not try to separate Srila Prabhupada's causeless mercy and distribution of knowledge to all of his disciples through his books and through our hearts, and think that Srila Prabhupada has been diminished by that. We should not think that since Srila Prabhupada has finished his physical pastimes, that he has stopped his transcendental pastimes. Srila Prabhupada has not left his post. He's not abandoned his disciples. He's not abandoned those new people looking for a bona fide spiritual master. People are trying to say he's dead so that they don't have to accept, they don't have to cope with his presence over their behavior, when their behavior is based on his not being here to receive these new people, his not being here to receive worship, his not being here to tell them, stop your selfish nonsense, get out of that chair, put a selfless devotee there who's simply my servant. So we can see how these two threads come together and give us a perspective that we need to understand the potency of the spiritual master in the transcendental perspective. And we need to follow the instructions and the methodology he used and trained us to use. And that is, everybody is his disciple. Everybody's on different platforms working to serve and please him. We act as a family where the older children help raise the younger children, but nobody claims to be the parent. The parent is our beloved empowered spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, and we may be older or younger, spiritually speaking, children. We see in Bhagavad Gita, we see in Vedic literatures all over the place that the younger, less realized are helped by the more realized, who are all helped by the spiritual master, who is the empowerment of the Lord's mercy in the age. So this is for you to see things in a perspective that helps you from falling into the trap of thinking you're more than you are and neglecting the transcendental position. Srila Prabhupada is on all platforms of spiritual realization. He's seeing Krishna all the time, he's hearing Krishna in the heart all the time, and he's in the heart of his disciples all the time. This is part of the vows that we take. We promise to follow the principles and serve him selflessly. He promises to help pick us up and keep us going even when we fall, to go back home, back to Godhead. Whether he's physically present or he's not, he's still in your heart, he's still in his books, and he has not given up his half of the vows. You just be sure you don't give up your half of the vows. And help other people to come to understand they can take the vows too, because Srila Prabhupada's mercy is spreading constantly. He is always looking for more people to help come back home, back to Godhead. That was what he was supposed to do. Go to the West and liberate the fallen souls. And he's still doing it through his disciples, through his books, through our hearts. He is dynamic. He is not dead. His physical form is, that's all. But we know he's on the Super Soul platform, so the physical form isn't very important to someone on the Super Soul platform. See that in proper perspective. Glorify his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. Don't worry about yourself. Help him, help others. That's what he wants us all to do. There's a safe platform right there in his books, right there in your heart.
Prabhupada, you're the savior of the soul, giving understanding how to reach the highest goal. Prabhupada, you're the captain of the boat, giving us direction how to stay afloat. Prabhupada, you're the master of the ship, guiding us and making sure we never slip.